I'm so pleased to have Congressman Welch and representatives from Senator Leahy and Senator Sanders' office with us today. Without their steadfast support, we would have had to start all over in Congress in January with reintroducing our bills and moving all of our efforts through Congress. Designation legislation was introduced in the Senate by Senator Sanders and co-sponsored by Senator Leahy, while Representative Peter Welch introduced the measure in the House. The U.S. House passed our legislation in September and the Senate in December before the signing of the bill on December 19th. Please join me in welcoming Congressman Peter Welch.
You know, it's really great to be here, and what a day. You know, I'll just give greetings from Senator Leahy, who I know wishes he were here. He's at the funeral of Beau Biden. He's a good family friend. Bernie Sanders is in New Hampshire. I wonder what he's doing there. But it was great working with them, and it was really great working with you. You've heard about what's magnificent about these rivers, the Trout and the Missisquoi. And you are celebrating the fact that something that should have been simple and uncomplicated finally got done. And I want to talk a little bit about that. You know, when the Wild and Scenic River Bill was signed into law, it was 1968. And as contentious of a time as it was in our country with the Vietnam War, and as contentious and contested as our then President Lyndon B. Johnson was, there was a strong consensus that we were custodians of the environment. And in the midst of a very turbulent time in our country, there was an enormous embrace of the wild and scenic legislation that resulted in 39 states designating 13,000 miles of river as wild and scenic. The Congress we're in today does not share that consensus. And it's really why something that is such an uncomplicated piece of legislation was such a contest to pass. It's because that consensus that we're custodians of the environment, that we have responsibility to leave these rivers better than we found them. That consensus that said there's something that is absolutely vital for the future of the communities we live in, that those of us who live in them today step up and make certain that they'll be there for our kids tomorrow. That was the consensus that we had in 1968. And it was, as I say, in the midst of enormous conflict in this country. But now in Congress, when you have a request from 8 communities that have met with their local committees, with their select boards, and then had a town vote on this question of whether they wanted to have that designation, that should be something that in Congress we just present it, and as a matter of deference to the efforts of people in local communities, you sign off and do it. The challenges that Patrick and Bernie and I had weren't really because of any problems with the legislation or even the objective. It was a problem with the objective. What was that consensus is now the conflict, and there's a lot of fear in Congress about what's the motivation of people who want to do this. Are they trying to do a land grab? Are they going to take away private property rights? Is this going to be the federal government being Big Brother? And the inability in Congress for us to do what you did in those 8 towns with your communities and with that kind of leadership, Jake, that you provided, and Shana and Rob, that's what is the big challenge that we have down in Washington. And we've got a challenge, Bernie and Patrick and I, to do everything we can to restore that consensus that we had in 1968 that we're holding on to here in Vermont, that we are custodians of the environment, that when we are so blessed to have the Missisquoi and the Trout rivers, we are not going to allow them to be compromised in any way. That's going to be a long, hard battle. I'm working with some of the best minds of the 18th century, and they don't believe in climate change. But here's what I want to say. Shana, you made a point. Where are you? About how you hung in there for all these years And you were able to do it because you knew the cause was worthy and you knew the people were good. And what is happening in Washington right now is we're not doing our share to help local communities do what they need to do. But the hopeful sign I'm seeing all around the state of Vermont, but nowhere better symbolized than what happened here, is that vacuum of leadership and consensus in Washington is not becoming an excuse by you at the local community level to step up and exercise leadership of your own. We're on a stall in Washington right now. We've got to get that going for the good of the country, because our job is essentially to pass policies that make it possible for you to be successful in doing what you're doing back home. But while we're trying to get that going and get back to that 1968 consensus in Washington, what you're showing is you don't have to wait. You can act on your own. And you have done that. And this day is going to be a memory that will be with you proudly for the rest of your life. And to the extent that Patrick and Bernie and I were able to play a small role in comparison to what you've done, we'll share with you a sense of great pride in the accomplishment of this day. So thank you for letting me be part of this.
I'm Tom Berry with Senator Leahy's office, and this is just really a great day. Among the all of the work that Senator Leahy gets involved with over the many years in the Senate, the federal lands designations that affect Vermont are the ones that they're forever, and he takes great pride in those. And he'll often ask me, how many acres is the Green Mountain National Forest now, and questions like that. And so, today we're adding the 4th unit of the national park system within Vermont to the Marsh Billings Rockefeller National Historical Park, the Appalachian National Scenic Trail, the Champlain Valley National Heritage Area, and now the Upper Missisquoi and Trout National Scenic Recreational River. And it's just, this is forever. This is a great day. And among all of those designations that Senator Leahy has worked on, and I've been involved over the years on quite a few, this one stands out as really being textbook. This is the way it should be done. It took a long time, but it got done, and it got done by all of you and the people on the committee. I've worked hard for Senator Leahy on some of these designations, and before him with Senator Jeffords, and it's worth mentioning that I heard about this first while working for Senator Jeffords, who passed away recently. And so it's been a big involvement in this. But guess what? Over all of the years, and it's my job to be out on the road for Senator Leahy, I only came up here for one meeting of the committee because it was going well. And it was going well, and our game, you don't mess with it. The committee was getting it done. The last thing I thought, and I think the rest of the delegation agreed that we needed, was to come up and talk to local communities and say, okay, we're here from the Congress, and we want to make this happen in your communities. It was the committee and the communities that got it done. And the teamwork was great. The Park Service was right on board. And the teamwork carried over, though, and we followed your example when we had to get this through Congress, when each of the delegation members, Congressman Welch, I don't know how he did it, working in the minority, got this bill through the House before we really got a lot of traction with it in the Senate. And at that time, Senator Sanders and Senator Leahy were in the majority, but he got it through the House, and so we knew we had to get it done. Fortunately, and Haley's here to talk about it, I don't want to steal her thunder, but Senator Sanders is on the committee that has jurisdiction over the National Park Service. And I can tell you, his staff was on this bill. They made sure that the hearings were held. They got everything to the other committee staff and the other members of the committee to make sure that this was ready to go. It was Senator Sanders that got this through the committee and to the full Senate. And I remember telling Shana, gosh, a year before it passed, I said, you may think that this bill is going to go on the floor of the Senate and it's going to be debated, it's going to be passed. Well, no, Bernie's going to get through committee, and then it's going to sit. And it's going to sit. And on the last bill that leaves at the end of the Congress, that's where it's going to be. And if it's not there, it's probably going to have to get reintroduced, and we're going to have to wait 2 more years. And so when the Defense Authorization Act last year was ready to go, and it was, if it wasn't the last bill, it was the next to last bill was ready to go. Senator Leahy, then a member of the majority and the most senior member of the U.S. Senate as President pro tem, was able to engage at that level and ensure that the bill got attached, got put on that last train leaving the station, and we got it done. It was only through teamwork among the delegation that we got our part done, but really it was, beginning my first meeting on this again was in '06, and here we are 9 years later, and it's here. Good stuff takes time. Everybody did their job, and the National Park Service really deserves a shout out. They were here right throughout, and they supported it. And now looking forward, the Park Service, we go through appropriations bills looking at the next year to see, okay, what money can the senator support for Good Vermont initiatives? And this bill, remember, passed in December. The Park Service budget had long since been on the president's desk. The president needed to deliver that budget to the Congress in January. The ink was dry on that bill. Park Service people right up. They weren't going to see that again. And you could have knocked me over with a feather when I took a look at the Park Service budget, and there's money proposed for FY16, what we're working on now, in that bill. I don't know how they did it. They got funding for this. It's still in front of Congress, but they got funding for this designation in the bill on the president's desk before the legislation even passed. And so the Park Service has been foursquare behind this as well. And, it's just, like I say, textbook. So it's a great day, and congratulations to everybody.
Hello everyone, my name is Haley Perro. I'm from Senator Bernie Sanders' office, and I know Bernie would have loved to join you all here today on this beautiful day. He does send his warmest regards and asked if I could read the following letter on his behalf. It reads, "Dear friends, I am sorry I cannot join you today, but I want to extend my congratulations as you celebrate the designation of the Upper Missisquoi and Trout Rivers as National Wild and Scenic Rivers. I also want to thank Rob Center for coordinating today's celebration. I'm very pleased that these two rivers are the first in Vermont to be recognized as National Wild and Scenic Rivers for their natural, cultural, and recreational features. Our rivers are a defining feature of the Vermont landscape, and this designation will help maintain water quality and will enable continued enjoyment of these rivers by future generations of fishermen, hunters, and paddlers. In 2013, at the request of communities along the rivers, I introduced legislation to add portions of the Missisquoi and Trout Rivers to the Wild and Scenic River System. Working with Senator Leahy and Congressman Welch, I am proud to have played a role in securing this designation last December. However, the hard work was done by you, local community members and partnership organizations. It was you who did the on-the-ground organizing, and with the help of Shayna Stewart-Deeds, did a comprehensive study of the rivers. So let me thank you for your commitment to protecting these natural treasures and for your determination through the long designation process. Your efforts show what can happen when communities come together and work toward a common vision. Again, congratulations on this important occasion and best wishes for today's celebration. Sincerely, Bernie Sanders, U.S. Senator.